get us started. So welcome to this session all about strengths and getting to know you. I'm going to throw David right on the spot for a moment. Did you want to say any words, or are you happy for me to get underway, David?
I'll say a few words, sing a song
Okay.
maybe.
Okay.
No, I'd just encourage everyone to get as much out of it as possible. Maybe close your outlooks, put your phones away, and give AJ as much attention as we can. I'm as guilty of that as anyone. But thank you, AJ, for your time, and hope everyone gets plenty out of it. So thanks, AJ.
Lovely. Thanks, David. Fantastic. And I'm just scrolling through the screen, seeing all the people. Taya, you might need to correct me on that. Paul, Robin, Cherie. There's lots of people here, Joshua, that I hadn't said hello to yet. So hello to everyone. Georgina, welcome. So strengths is all about you. And when we come together in a few weeks as a whole big team, which is a bit exciting, and I will be facilitating. So great for you guys who are here online. You get a bit of a vibe of me and decide, well, do I like working with her or not, right? So you'll get a bit of a feel for me before I'm in the room with you in person. What I'd love to do just to begin is to get you to give me a rating on a score of 1 to 5, with 5 being I am absolutely outstanding, couldn't have had a better day, I'm on top of the world. 1 being this is the pits, I need to go back to bed and start my day again. If you can type in the chat box, where are you on that scale of crawling back to bed or I feel like I won the lotto, I'm amazing. Just so I know where you're at. Oh, we got a 4.5. That's wonderful. Excellent. Oh, fantastic. We've got some 3s, 4.7. Wow, that's pretty high there. Awesome. Got some 3s. Hopefully that's not just because you're drowning under emails or whatever that looks like at the moment, or maybe dealing with one of those lurgies that are hanging around. Excellent. Lots of 4s. That is great. Fantastic. I am impressed. I'm impressed for an afternoon that you're in that space. So let me share my screen because I do have a bit of a follow the bouncing ball presentation to start with. Don't worry, I won't just do death by PowerPoint. It just helps us have a little bit of a focus and helps me navigate through. And as well, it helps if anyone here is big into like the research and the stats, that I can also share some of that with you. So along the way, I am really open to you either chatting in the chat box or just take yourself off mute and say, hey, AJ, I've got a question, right? So please just jump in. It can be difficult, right, on Zoom with lots of people to be as interactive as possible, but I really want you to, and permission to interrupt me along the way. AJ just stands for Alexandra Joy, which can be a bit of a mouthful, and I tend to only answer to AJ, except to my parents. So feel free to call me AJ as you wish, or some people like to be more formal and say Alexandra, but I'm cool with either. I like to always begin by just paying my respects to the traditional custodians of the lands on which we're on. As you can see by my name and profile, I'm on Wonnarua, which is also Wonnarua, Darkinjung, Awabakal land. So I'm actually living on a beautiful piece of land where 5 tribes used to meet regularly for thousands of years. So I actually have some caves with artifacts and a number of Indigenous water holes here. So I'm on a beautiful piece of sacred land. Having seen where all of you are from, it sounds like we've got some Wonnarua, Darkinjung, Darug, Wiradjuri, maybe a Yuan even. I think I saw some people from all around. So I pay my respects to all the lands that we're coming from today and what a group you are, right? Working across many areas. And welcome to just understanding your strengths. As I said, when we get together in a couple of weeks, that's going to be about the whole team. That's going to be how do we work together and bring all of our strengths together as a well-rounded big group. But today is actually rather nicely, because you don't get this very often, but it's all about you. It's all about you individually. And this is just a space and an hour for you to reflect on my own strengths and how I've seen those show up perhaps throughout my career or even my life. Okay. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to do their strengths and has their report there, either on their phone or their laptop, or maybe even printed out. Can everyone just give me a Y in the chat box if you've got that set up ready to go? Have you got your strengths in front of you And if you don't and you're an N, awesome, that's fabulous. If you don't, then now's your chance to run and grab that. Print it out or open it up on a screen. So as David said, we'd love you to be as present as possible, but also I know that you might have a second screen or your phone or something out just to be looking through your strengths, and that's completely fine. Beautiful. That's great. Sounds like you're all on board. Fantastic. You all got the brief. So we're going to unpack a little bit of your unique assessment and what it means for you. As you would have seen, there are 34 Clifton strengths, and it sounds like a lot, and it is. And what I love about the strengths is that it isn't just pigeonholing you into, say, one of 4 types. You know, there's great analyses like the DISC and Myers-Briggs and all of those out there. The strengths is really unique to you. And we're going to see just how statistically unique it is. But it's really beautiful when you start to see how those 34 strengths come into play for you specifically. And what my understanding is you've all gotten your top 5 strengths. So you should know what are the 5 drivers and the things that make me uniquely me and how I show up as me. It could be that there are some people here on the call that have some similar ones. They might even have 2 or 3 the same as you, but my guess is there wouldn't be anyone here who has the same 5 strengths in the same order. That is really, really rare, okay? And so the uniqueness that they are is that 1 in 278,256 people will share the same top 5 strengths as you. But only 1 in 35 million will share the top 5 in the exact same order. So that's what we mean about how unique it is. It is like your fingerprint. So as we go through the strengths, you might find a few similarities to some other people here in the room, but you're going to be uniquely you. And that's what's great, right? That's what's great about being in a workplace with a whole lot of dear, beautiful humans is we're all unique. And so we're always trying to figure each other out. And that's why this is really helpful for teams to start to understand how can we work better together, knowing that we're all quite different. Yeah. So let's start by going, when are you in a state of flow? I would love to know when you're in a state of flow. And if you haven't heard that term before, it was coined by a guy by the name of Chick Sent Me High. Try and say that fast, or when you've had a gin or something. But he talked about a state of flow. And often you hear about athletes saying they're in a state of flow, you know, when they're a hurdler and they get into that flow and that rhythm, those sorts of things. Or you hear about a cyclist where they're like, I really get into a rhythm and I could just ride and ride for ages. But we can get into a state of flow at work as well. It could be that you're the spreadsheet queen and you love nothing better than getting into your spreadsheet and you feel like you're in a state of flow. So I'd love to hear from anyone here. When are you in a state of flow? And you can either type it in or you can unmute yourself. Has anyone got any ideas? Yeah, Rachel, is it? Go for it, Rachel. Do you want to unmute yourself and share?
Yeah, I feel in a state of flow when I'm in Next Gen is where we do our loan submissions.
Yep.
And just on a roll of getting through all those validation points for submitting a loan.
Great.
That's what I enjoy.
So you love the system itself and the process and that sort of thing?
Yeah, and also helping new brokers as well, flow and just getting their reaction and helping them out. So that's when I feel in a flow.
Fantastic. Yep. And navigating the system. I love it. I love it. And I'm sure when we find out your top 5 strengths, there's going to be some strengths in there that demonstrate why that's something you love. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? Who else would love to share? Yeah, Helen, was it? Go for it.
Yeah. Hi, AJ.
Hi.
I think I'm in a state of flow when I'm creating projects, working on workflows and, the best outcomes for the business and the team so that everyone works easily.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's your role in the organization?
I'm the aggregation manager for Vision Ag.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yep. So you like that coordination, setting up systems, making things
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's a creative process, but also sounds linear too, is it?
Yeah.
Structured, but creative.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect. Great example. Thank you.
No.
Who else? Let's hear from another person. Who else gets into a state of flow? Go on, be brave. I can see you all smiling. On Rachel and Helen were brave. If not, I'll just randomly. Here we go. Alex has got when there's healthy pressure to complete things. Oh, yes, nothing like a little bit of a deadline, right, Alex? Minimal roadblocks. Spotify is on and your productive candles are lit. Oh, I love that you have candles for it. That's awesome. Yeah. And do you have to get the task done by the time the candle's burnt out? Is that the idea? Like that it gives you time? Maybe. Awesome. Thank you. 20-hour candles. Okay, so big projects. Yeah, not too much pressure. Awesome. So yeah, it's just understanding a little bit about our flow. And really, when you look at it and look at the strengths, then you tend to find that your strengths will marry up with those states of flow. So for me, these are my personal top 5. This is actually my top 10 strengths. And you'll see my top 5: input, connectedness, futuristic, strategic, and learner. You'll also see the colors down the side, which tell you which of the 4 groupings mine fit into. And you might notice that in my top 5, there isn't any orange or purple color ones, which are kind of more around execution and getting stuff done, which some of you just shared with some of your examples. All of mine, apart from number 2, connectedness, which is relationship, all of the green ones for mine are all about big strategic vision. So I'm a person that when I'm in my flow, it's usually developing a big plan. I mean, I'm on the board of a new business at the moment, a startup that's only in its 2nd year. And I love that because I'm so excited about the 10-year vision we're creating and how it's going to change gross national prosperity for all of Australia. So I love those kind of big things. And if I'm working on a big project, I'm excited. If I'm finding the connections and connecting people to each other and I'm doing future focused things, I am all over it in my flow. But if it gets too detailed or too monotonous, you will lose me. So I will become more unproductive, shall we say. So you can see how your strengths start to marry up with how you like to work and what you're good at, yeah, and what you tend to be hired for and of value in the team. So the founder of the strengths movement, the beautiful Donald Clifton, he is what they call the father of the strengths-based movement. And what he found was that he started to look at what will happen if we focus on what is right with people rather than trying to fix them. So he really started going, what if we took a strengths-based approach? And instead of trying to fit people into square pegs in round holes, what if we found round people and put them in round holes and found the square people and put them in square holes? What if we instead worked with people's strengths? And so strengths is a very scientific-based approach. It has been conducted millions of times. I believe actually that stat, 31 million people, it's now 35 million people who have taken it. So I will need to update that. I saw that stat updated last week. And they've got 50 years of research and development that goes into strengths and the strengths movement. If you love it, there's a Strengths Finder book and you can read all about it. As I said before, 34 themes, and they all have an explanation, which you would have read in your report. And it's interesting, we have to kind of turn off a little bit of our bias around words. So sometimes people read the word positivity and they think, oh, it's someone who's a Pollyanna. Not necessarily, right? And we often have judgments around those. I know woo, for example, WOO, often gets people commenting, oh, that person's woo, and they have connotations around that. I kind of encourage you to strip those away and instead read the description and how it works and what it means for you. When we as a work team, and that's why we're doing it with you all at Vision, is when we actually apply strengths-based to our individual performance at work, and especially when we look at our whole team and organization, we see increased performance, we get higher customer metrics, and we're going to talk about customer service when we come together in a couple of weeks. We start to see lower staff attrition, even though younger generations tend to have more careers and those sorts of things. So we are seeing the stats change a little bit around workplace and people staying in different workplaces. But we do see a lot lower attrition when people get an opportunity to work to their strengths, you know, and we get engagement. And that's what we're looking for. We want people to love their work, to feel in flow with their work, and get an opportunity to use their strengths at work, because that's when we tend to get more enjoyment. And then we go home and become better partners, mum and dads, fur baby parents, whatever you might identify with, right? We become better in all of our life when we feel like we have an opportunity to play to our strengths. And so what the research shows is that when people use their strengths every day, they have greater productivity to the tune of about 8%. And teams who receive strengths feedback have 9% greater profitability. So it isn't just nice and warm and fuzzy, it also actually has a bottom line bankable opportunity from working with our strengths. And so what I love about strengths as well is that you get to be uniquely you. You get to enjoy the quirks that make you who you are. And that's what actually makes you great. So you don't have to be different to be a success. Excuse me. You can have two people in the exact same role and they can get results, but with different approaches because of their strengths. So you'll often find that two people will actually tackle and approach something differently. Someone might do it through people, someone else might do it through process. They're going to have a different lens of the world. The themes, as I said, are neutral. So even though we often attach meaning to the words, they are actually neutral. They're not labels. So we shouldn't be walking around going, oh, you're one of those, right? So we're not being weaponizing the words. We want to use them in the way that they're intended, which is my difference is an advantage. Here's how I could add value to your team. And really starting to look at how can we collaborate and go, I'm really good at execution. I need someone strategic to help me with that. And the strategic person needs someone who's great at execution to work together. So how can we blend our work together even better? We need each other. And it's also not a cop-out or excuse. So even though you saw pretty much all of my top 5 are all strategic things, it doesn't mean that I can shy away and say, oh, I don't do detail. Yeah. It means I might have to think a bit harder or do it a bit differently or find my way of doing it, but it doesn't mean I can cop out. So this is not an excuse to go, oh, I'm never doing a payroll ever again, because it's not in my strengths, right? It's about applying your strengths to do the work that you do. So we all have talent. Who here has a talented child that you're like, wow, they've got so much talent? Yes. And often we see that quite young, don't we? We're like, oh, they're really showing their talent. And so talents are, as you can see some examples here, you might see people that see patterns in data. I often see people who have a real talent for editing stuff and for writing, and they will say the errors just jump out at me, like I can just see it in a document. Some people are, as I said, more positive and just wake up and go, I love my life, I love the world, everything's great, right? So we all have a different talent. But what gives a clue to them actually becoming our strengths that we can then apply and build on at work is that we have a yearning. We want to do the thing that we're good at. We tend to learn so much quicker, like really rapidly, and how quick we learn and how much we retain is even better. So for example, for me, I tried to learn guitar using YouTube during COVID. Not very successfully, because I'm not good at the attention to detail and the execution part, right? I want to play the whole song very quickly and did not achieve learning how to play guitar. Robin asked a question. Your child is very talented at procrastinating. It may be that they haven't found their other strengths yet. And maybe you've got to find out what their strengths are to get them to do things, right? We also find that when people are playing to their strengths, they find that flow, as I was talking about before. And flow can be where you know, I'm doing something that I love and time stands still, or I forget to have lunch and I don't even notice where I'm at because I'm so in depth in whatever it is I'm doing. I get a bit in flow when I'm mowing the lawn, right? Mowing one of my paddocks, I get on my ride on and I could do that for hours and don't even realize the time's gone by. Glimpses of excellence. It tends to be that when we're playing in our strength zone, we see excellence and other people start to go, gee, you're good at that, right? So think about all the times anyone's ever commented to you that you're good at something. It will tend to be around one of your strengths. And then you get a great deal of satisfaction. Yeah. Yeah. Can everyone relate to that? Yeah. Because it's like, I love the sense of completion. I love a deal. I love putting a deal together. I'm in the process at the moment of buying one property and selling another, just talking your industry wise. And I love the deal part. You know, I love negotiating and going, what if we did this? Or what if it was like that? What if we had a longer settlement here? How does that look? Like, I love that part. Yeah. So I get a great deal of satisfaction from the deal itself. So let's have a look at your strengths. Yeah. Now is the time for you to get your report out in front of you. And we're going to have a look at how you can name it, claim it, and then aim it. We want to name what your strengths are. You want to claim it and go, yes, that's definitely it. And maybe in your top 5, 3 or 4 of them, you might be like, I resonate more with those than the other 2. That's fine. And then we want to think about, how do you aim it? How do I start to use that strength at work to be even better than what I do now? Okay. So getting your strengths report out, and you might want to have a pen and paper next to you or something you can type on and jot some notes. What I'd like you to look at is read through your report again, just have a little scan through, and I'm going to give you some time to do that. And then I'm going to put you into a couple of smaller breakout rooms. And in those breakout rooms, I'd love you to share with the group, because we can't share here, all of us, there's far too many. You're going to share your top 5. What are some triple highlights? So if you had a highlighter pen in front of you in your report, which are the ones that you're like, oh, when I read that sentence, that's me. Yeah, like that's me 100%. I call them triple highlights. You would highlight them. Any parts of your report that surprised you? Maybe there's something that you're like, wow, I never knew I had that ability. Or I have had people before that were, say, in the communication field, say, communication wasn't in my top 5. Like, that surprised me. But it'll be something else, like connectedness, or another relationship type. And then one example of how your strengths show up at work. So you might want to take a screenshot or a photo of this, or a little, so you remember you're looking at your top 5. What's a highlight? Something that you're like, I really resonate with this part. Anything in it that surprises you. And then one example of how your strengths show up at work. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes on your own, which is going to feel really long, but I want you to take the time, because you might have only scanned your report. I want you to take the time to read through it now and look for those triple highlights, bits that surprise you. And then after the 5 minutes, I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms where you can actually discuss that with your peers. All right?
Sorry, is it just from the summary, is it? Or is there a full report somewhere?
You should have received a little report that shows your top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
should
just
be
the top 5, like summary. It just says when you're at the best, when you are, or
yeah. Let me open up and show you. I'll show you an example.
Mine's about 16 pages, Pete.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be quite a few pages, not just a little summary. Excuse me.
I've seen that.
This is Murray's, for example, that I work with. And so it will have his top 5. So his is relator and futuristic. He has communication. There you go. Then it will have a breakdown of those, what the colors mean. And then it will go to each one. So
I can download it, yeah, like from the site.
Yeah, you should be able to go on the site and download that. So
Okay.
he's got, for example, a whole couple of pages on his first strength relator, then a couple of pages on futuristic. So you should get a full report.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just gone in and downloaded it then.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. So you need that slightly longer one to really have a good look through. Oh, thanks for sharing that in the chat group. That's awesome. So yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes on your own right now and read through the report and go through those highlights that we want to discuss. And so we'll just go back a couple more points before we finish up. And really, the kind of last point I really want to bring home for you is that our strengths are a bit like a gas burner on the stove. And so we can dial them up or dial them down. And ideally, I often say when people are talking about strengths, they often then start talking about their weaknesses. They want to look at what was it at the bottom of my report? What am I no good at? And organizations, often you'll do a SWOT analysis with them and they go strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, strengths. What are our weaknesses? And straight away, we have a negative bias and want to jump into weaknesses. And I want to encourage you to think about, we don't really have weaknesses. We often just have strengths that we dial up too hot. Yeah. So quite often we have strengths and then we have strengths that we rely on too much and we overplay them. So while I say I want you to be a star, I don't want you to rely on only that strength and to overplay it. And quite often people who rely on that will then not tap into the wealth of the strengths of other team members. So if you take a look at this for a moment and think about even your own little scale, and what I'd love you to do is choose one of your top 5 strengths. So if you could just on a piece of paper in front of you, write down one of your top strengths, the one that maybe you really relate to the most. So it might be connectedness or communication, might be learner. Just choose one and write it down. And then I want you to think about when I am at 0%, when I'm not using that strength and I don't have an opportunity in my work to use that strength, how do I show up at work? So what's my behavior? How do I show up when I'm not getting to use that strength, when I've dialed it right down? Yeah. And so this is an example of one, responsibility. At 0%, without using responsibility, it's likely you won't feel ownership. Yeah. So think about for your strength, if I'm not using it and I've dialed it right down, what does that feel like? And then if I am at 100%, I'm really nicely, neatly in the blue slipstream of flow. For someone in responsibility, when I'm 100% dialed in on my strength in the right, good, adult, strong way, then I have psychological ownership. I'm doing what I say I'll do, and I'm motivated by my to-do list. I have that clear responsibility. Yeah. So think about, what does it look like for you at 100% when I'm getting to use that strength and I'm really happy and I'm in a nice sweet spot. And then lastly, as I said, if we dial that strength up too hot, we're going to burn the milk. So when someone overplays their responsibility, they're likely to not have good boundaries. They'll say yes to everything, and then they'll feel frustrated and they'll start to get burnt out because I start taking responsibility then for everyone else around me and getting other people's work done and reminding them of their deadlines rather than taking just responsibility of self. So I'd love to hear or see in the chat, anyone, what's your strength and what does it look like when it's dialed up or dialed down? Who's happy to share one of their strengths? Go on, be brave. Or maybe we can help you think about it. Who's got a strength that they relate to? Yeah, Nick, great. What's your strength?
Ideation.
Yeah, great.
So when I've got creative, I suppose creative authority to do something, I find that exciting and I get in the flow really quickly.
Yeah.
But if I've already created something and I've got to do the grind and actually output the work, it's a different chore.
Right. So that's when it's
More like a
dialed
chore,
down.
yeah. Once you've done the creative and you've got it to a certain point,
Yeah.
that's the exciting part. And then when it's actually producing the work, it's not as exciting.
Which is when then you go, who's got a good execution strength that I could buddy up with? Yeah. Yeah, great. So when you're in the creative flow in that middle zone, it's really exciting. Yeah.
It is, yeah, when you've got a new project to work on and, you know,
Yeah.
it takes a couple of weeks or whatever, but then you have the month or so afterwards where you've got to create all the work. It's not as exciting. It's still enjoyable, but not as
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
And so that's when you're dialed right down and you don't get to use your ideation. What
Yeah.
happens when you swing the other way and your ideation takes over everything else? What does your work look like
Yeah,
then?
that's sort of like insomnia for me.
Yeah, right. So insomnia, or you have
brain doesn't
lots
shut
of
down.
ideas.
Yeah.
And then often people in ideation can be great fire starters, but they never know how to finish anything. So it's like 3,000 projects all started, nothing completed.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So we're going to find that sweet spot. Excellent. Thank you, Nick. That's a brilliant example. Loved it. Thank you. So that's exactly where we're at, where we just want to reflect for ourselves today on what does it look like? How does it feel when I'm in my strength zone? How do I stay out of undercooking, overcooking? How do I just stay in that flow, just like Nick shared, so that I can do my best work, contribute to the team or my family or whatever that looks like in the best possible way? Okay. And so that's where we want to start leaning into our strengths. That's kind of what I want to leave you with and be reflecting on for today before we then come together as a team in 2 weeks and start looking at, ooh, okay, can I trade you that strength with this strength? You know, could we work together on some collaborations and opportunities? I would love for each of you to finish up, to type into the chat box, what's one thing you're going to do or have a go at in focusing on your strengths in the next week or so? What's something you could do to focus in on your strengths? What's an action you could take? So I'd love to hear your ideas in the chat box. Breathe, good. What strength did that relate to, Helen?
Sorry, just realized I'm under mute.
You're right.
I actually didn't relate it to a strength, just all in all, covering off on all the project work. So
Great.
I guess I've just got to look at the strengths that I have and apply them to the projects that I'm working on.
Lovely. Great. Thank you. Who else? I'm not seeing a lot in the chat box. What else are you going to do? Learn a strength, start a new project. Great. Start learning something. Maybe try a guitar. I've got a guitar going cheap. What else? Who else? What are you going to do? Take a step back, look at the bigger picture. Nice. Try and connect thoughts to actions. I really like that, Jeff. Yeah, just reflect on your top 5. That's great. Have a look at them. It can be great also if you've got family or colleagues around you that you can reflect on as well and say, how do you see this in me? Focus more on learning for projects. Fantastic. For futuristic, create a map of goals, what I want to achieve, and create a vision of where I want to be. Yeah, so for someone futuristic, you need to actually see, usually quite visual, the big picture. Yeah, I know. It must take forever. I learned to ride a motorbike much quicker than playing guitar, though. It's obviously not as technically difficult. And because I've got big strategic vision things, I could see it better, right? It's not as detailed. I could see it. Awesome. Research your top 5 more to get better understanding. Yeah, and there's loads of information and research on the Strengths website. Examine problems and issues. Awesome. Strategic and arranger. Consider the current ways we do things in terms of processes. I love that. Come up with some more effective and efficient ways. That's a great marrying up of strategic and arranger. Read the full report properly. Yeah. Good. Cherie, that's fine. Take space to find out how to top 5 adds to different projects. Yeah, and you might lean on a different strength at different times. Leighton's going to keep promoting that vision ag. Arranger working on bringing the project to a close and how our roles will change from there. Fantastic. They're all great actions. Love it. So I'm going to close out the main part and recording now for people who are watching later. So anyone who's watching later that couldn't attend, we will see you live at our full day workshop together very soon.